The stars looked different out here on the border worlds. Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of the UHMS Nightingale, watching the distant suns paint streaks of light across the darkness. She had been commanding this hospital ship for 3 years now, and every mission felt important. But this one was special. The plague had hit 5 colonies in the past 2 months. Thousands were sick. Hundreds had already died. The Galactic Coalition had sent supplies, but they needed doctors, nurses, and proper medical equipment. They needed the Nightingale. "Captain, we are approaching the Helios colony," said Lieutenant Greg Palmer from his station. He was a big man with kind eyes, though his military background showed in the way he carried himself. "They are ready for us." Lisa nodded. "Good. Tell Dr. Brooks to prepare his teams. I want medical bays 1 through 4 operational as soon as we dock." Dr. Henry Brooks was already on the communications line before she finished speaking. "We are ready, Captain. My people have been prepped for the past hour. We have isolation units set up for the most critical cases." Lisa smiled. Henry never waited for orders when people needed help. It was one of the reasons she respected him. He had gray hair now, and lines around his eyes from years of hard work, but his hands were still steady, and his mind was sharper than doctors half his age. The Nightingale moved into orbit around Helios colony. It was a beautiful ship, painted white with large red crosses on every side. The medical symbol was recognized across the entire galaxy. Everyone knew what it meant. This ship carried no weapons, it posed no threat. It existed only to heal. Katie Walsh rushed past the bridge window, heading toward the medical bay. She was the emergency response coordinator, which meant she never stopped moving during a mission. Lisa could see her gathering supplies and checking equipment through the internal cameras. "Captain Morgan," came a voice from the communications station. It was one of the Helios colony leaders, a Tarvian named Kelix. The Tarvians were a peaceful species, with blue skin and large eyes. "We cannot thank you enough for coming. Our hospitals are full. Our doctors are exhausted." "That is what we are here for," Lisa replied warmly. "We will start bringing patients aboard within the hour. Your people will receive the best care we can provide." The next 3 days were busy. The Nightingale took on 200 patients from Helios colony. Dr. Brooks and his team worked around the clock. The plague was nasty, attacking the respiratory system and causing high fevers. But human medicine had seen worse. They had treatments that worked. Katie moved between patients with a tablet in her hands, tracking every case. She made sure everyone received their medication on time. She held the hand of a scared Tarvian child when his fever broke. She translated between species when the medical staff needed to communicate with patients who did not speak standard Galactic. By the end of the week, they had saved 173 lives. 27 patients had been too sick when they arrived, but even those last days were made comfortable. The families thanked the human crew with tears in their eyes. "This is why we do this," Henry told Lisa as they watched the last recovered patient leave the ship. "This is what matters." Lisa agreed. She had joined the Coalition Navy to explore space. She had become a medical ship captain because she believed in helping others. Humanity had a reputation in the galaxy. They were called Deathworlders. Their planet Earth was considered extremely dangerous by galactic standards. They were seen as tough, aggressive, and sometimes frightening. But Lisa wanted to show the galaxy something else. Humans could be gentle, they could heal, they could save lives. The Nightingale left Helios colony and moved toward the next world that needed help. The ship was peaceful as it traveled through space. Medical staff caught up on sleep. Engineers performed routine maintenance. Greg Palmer ran security drills, though they never expected to need them. On the 5th day of their journey, something changed. "Captain, I am picking up multiple ships on long-range sensors," said the sensor operator. He was a young man named Chris, fresh from the academy. "They are moving fast. Military configurations." Lisa straightened in her chair. "Identification?" Chris worked his controls for a moment. "Vrax Dominion, Captain. 5 warships, cruiser class." The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew about the Vrax. They were a reptilian species with a strong military culture. They had been expanding their territory aggressively for the past decade. The Coalition had warned them several times, but the Vraks did not listen well to warnings. "What are they doing in this sector?" Greg Palmer asked. He had moved closer to the tactical display. "This is Coalition space." "Maybe they are lost," Katie said hopefully. She had come to the bridge to deliver a report and stayed when she heard about the Vrak ships. Lisa did not think they were lost, but she kept her voice calm. "Open a channel." Standard diplomatic greeting. The communications officer worked for a moment, then nodded. "Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Lisa Morgan, of the United Human Medical Ship Nightingale. We are a registered hospital vessel operating under Coalition charter. We are currently on a humanitarian mission to the border colonies. How may we assist you?" There was a long silence. Then the screen flickered to life. A Vrak's commander appeared. He was large, covered in dark green scales, with yellow eyes that seemed to look through people rather than at them. His teeth showed when he spoke, sharp and intimidating. "Human vessel," the Vrak's commander said. His voice was rough, like grinding stones. "I am War Chief Zaroth of the Vrak's Third Fleet. You will stop your engines and prepare to be boarded." Lisa felt her stomach tighten, but she kept her face neutral. "War Chief Zaroth, we are a hospital ship. We carry no weapons and no military cargo. We are protected under Article 7 of the Galactic Coalition Treaty. We cannot be boarded or detained without cause." Zaroth's eyes narrowed. "You are in space that will soon belong to the Vrak's dominion. Your Coalition rules mean nothing here." "These colonies have been part of the Coalition for over 50 years, Lisa replied firmly. "And regardless of political disputes, we are a medical vessel. We have patients on board who require continuous care. We request that you allow us to continue our mission." Henry had arrived on the bridge now, standing beside Katie. Greg Palmer had his hand near the emergency alert button. Everyone was tense. Zaroth was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled, though it looked more like a threat display. "You have 1 hour to shut down your engines and prepare for boarding. If you refuse, we will consider you a hostile vessel. This is your only warning." The screen went dark. Lisa took a deep breath. She looked around the bridge at her crew. These were good people. They had dedicated their lives to saving others, and now they were being threatened by a warship 5 times their size. "Send a priority distress signal to Outpost Meridian," Lisa ordered. "Let Commander Hayes know our situation, then prepare all patients for possible emergency evacuation. If things go wrong, I want everyone in escape pods and ready to launch." "Captain," Henry said quietly, "we have patients who cannot be moved safely. The evacuation could kill them." "I know," Lisa said. She felt the weight of command pressing down on her shoulders. "But we may not have a choice." The Nightingale continued through space, moving away from the approaching Vrak's warships as fast as its engines could manage. It was not fast enough. Hospital ships were not built for running. They were built for healing. In 53 minutes, the Vrak's fleet would be in weapons range, and Captain Lisa Morgan had to decide how far she would go to protect her patients and crew. The countdown continued. 40 minutes until the Vrak ships reached weapons range. Captain Lisa Morgan stood at the center of her bridge making impossible choices. "Distress signal sent, Captain," the communications officer reported. "Commander Hayes confirms receipt. He says the fleet is mobilizing, but they are 6 hours away at maximum speed." 6 hours. They would be dead or captured in one. Lisa opened the ship-wide channel. "This is the captain speaking. All medical personnel, begin patient evaluation for emergency transport. Priority 1 patients to escape pods first. Security teams prepare to assist with evacuation procedures." This is not a drill. Throughout the Nightingale, people moved with practiced efficiency. Dr. Henry Brooks divided his staff into rapid response groups. Nurses gathered medication and portable equipment. Engineers routed extra power to the escape pod systems. Katie Walsh stood in the pediatric ward looking at the 12 children currently under their care. Most were recovering from the plague. 3 were still critical. She felt her throat tighten. "We are going to play a game," she told the children with a smile that did not reach her eyes. "We are going to practice getting into the special safety pods. Just like we practice fire drills back in school." Can you all do that for me? The children nodded. The older ones looked scared. They were not stupid. They could feel the tension in the air. On the bridge, Greg Palmer monitored the approaching Varax fleet. 5 ships in a standard attack formation. They were not trying to hide their intentions. "Captain, they are hailing us again," the communications officer said. "Put it through." War Chief Zaroth appeared on the screen once more. His yellow eyes gleamed with something that might have been amusement. "Your time is almost up, human. Have you made your decision?" "We are a hospital ship," Lisa repeated, keeping her voice steady. "We are clearly marked. We are broadcasting our medical status on all frequencies. You are violating the most fundamental laws of civilized warfare." "Civilized?" Zaroth laughed, a harsh sound. "Your species comes from a death world. You talk about civilization, but everyone in the galaxy knows what you really are. Violent, aggressive, dangerous. You are predators pretending to be healers. Then you should understand what happens when you threaten what we protect," Lisa said quietly. Something flickered in Zaroth's eyes, but whatever doubt might have existed disappeared quickly. "Surrender your ship. Give us your medical supplies and technology. We will allow your crew and patients to leave in escape pods. Refuse and we will take everything by force." "I will not surrender a hospital ship to anyone," Lisa said firmly. "We will continue our mission. If you fire on us, you will be committing a war crime that the entire galaxy will witness. The galaxy is far away, Captain, and the strong make their own rules." Zaroth cut the connection. Lisa turned to her crew. "How much time?" 22 minutes, Greg reported. "All patients secured in escape pods?" Henry's voice came through the communication system. "Negative, Captain. We still have 41 patients who are too unstable to move. Moving them could kill them. The 3 children in intensive care would not survive 30 seconds without life support." Lisa closed her eyes for a brief moment. Then she opened them and made her decision. "All non-essential personnel to escape pods. Medical staff will remain with critical patients. Security will remain to protect them. Everyone else evacuates now." "Captain, I am not leaving," Katie said over the channel. She was still in the pediatric ward. "These children need someone they know, someone they trust. Katie, that is an order." "With respect, Captain, I am refusing that order." "Court-martial me later if we survive," Lisa wanted to argue, but she understood. She would have made the same choice. "Fine. But if things go bad, you get those kids into pods no matter what." "Understood?" "Understood." Across the ship, approximately 200 crew members moved to the escape pods. Engineers, administrators, support staff. They did not want to leave their shipmates, but they followed orders. The pods launched in groups, spreading out in space, putting distance between themselves and the coming battle. The Nightingale continued on its course, now with only 150 crew members aboard. Most of them were doctors, nurses, and security personnel. They stayed because people needed them. 15 minutes, Greg announced. "Captain, I recommend we at least raise shields." "It will give us a few extra minutes. Shields up," Lisa agreed. "But weapons remain offline. I will not give them an excuse." The massive hospital ship's defensive shields flickered to life. They were strong shields designed to protect against accidents and debris. But they were never meant to stop military weapons. In the medical bays, Dr. Brooks moved between patients. He checked monitors, adjusted medication, and spoke softly to those who were awake. A Tarvian woman grabbed his hand. "Are we going to die, doctor?" she asked. Henry looked at her honestly. "Not if I can help it. I have been a doctor for 27 years. I have never lost a patient without a fight. I am not starting today." She squeezed his hand and closed her eyes. 10 minutes, Greg said. "They are powering weapons." Lisa opened a final channel to the Varax fleet. "War Chief Zaroth, this is your last chance to reconsider. You are about to commit an act that will have consequences beyond anything you can imagine. Please, there are innocent people on this ship. Children, do not do this." There was no response. 5 minutes. Katie held the hand of a small Tarvian boy in the pediatric ward. He looked up at her with his large blue eyes. "I am scared, Nurse Katie." "I know, sweetheart. But you know what? You are very brave. The bravest boy I have ever met. Will you stay with me?" "I am not going anywhere," Katie promised. 2 minutes. The bridge crew watched their screens in silence. The Vrak ships were very close now. Close enough that they could see the weapons ports opening. 1 minute. Lisa gripped the arms of her captain's chair. She thought about her crew. She thought about the patients depending on her. She thought about all the people they had saved over the years. She had no regrets about her choices. If this was the end, at least they had stood for something that mattered. "Captain, they are firing," Greg shouted. The first impact hit the starboard side. The Nightingale shuddered. Alarms screamed across the ship. The shields held, but barely. They were not designed for this kind of punishment. "Return fire." Sarath's voice boomed over an open channel. "Show these arrogant humans what happens when they defy the Vrak's dominion." Another impact. Then another. The shields flickered and failed. The next shot tore directly into the ship's hull. The explosion ripped through Medical Bay 3. 40 patients died instantly. 17 medical staff members were killed with them. The bulkhead sealed automatically, but the damage was catastrophic. "Medical Bay 3 is gone," someone screamed over the communication system. Lisa felt like she had been punched in the stomach. Those were her people. Her patients. Gone in an instant. "Emergency teams to Medical Bay 3. Henry's voice was urgent. "We need to evacuate adjacent sections before the hull breaches further." Another impact rocked the ship. This one hit closer to the pediatric ward. Katie threw herself over the Tarvian boy as debris flew through the room. She felt something hot slice across her back. Pain exploded through her body, but she did not move. She kept the child covered. The emergency lights flickered. Systems failed across the ship. The Nightingale was dying. "Get those children out of there," Lisa ordered. "Katie, can you hear me?" There was a long pause. Then Katie's voice came through, weak and strained. "I am here, Captain. I am hurt, but I can still move." "Getting the children to the escape pods now. Greg, send security teams to help her." "Already on it," Greg replied. The Vrak ships closed in around the wounded hospital ship. Zaroth's face appeared on what remained of the view screen. "You should have surrendered, human. Now we will take what we want from your wreckage." Lisa looked at him with eyes full of cold fury. "You just killed 43 innocent patients and 17 unarmed medical personnel. You attacked a clearly marked hospital ship. The galaxy will remember this day, Zaroth, and so will humanity." Zaroth laughed. "Humanity is far from here. By the time anyone comes, we will be long gone with everything valuable from your ship." He did not understand. None of the Vraks understood. They had just made the worst mistake of their lives, because 6 hours away, Commander John Hayes had received the distress signal. He had heard the attack begin. He had recorded every moment of the Vrak's assault on a defenseless hospital ship, and he had immediately sent one message to Earth. One simple message that would change everything. Hospital ship attacked. Patients killed. Send everyone. The Vraks boarded the burning Nightingale, taking the surviving crew and patients hostage. They seized medical supplies and equipment. They laughed as they walked through corridors stained with the blood of healers. They thought they had won a victory. They could not have been more wrong. The news spread through the Galactic Coalition like fire through dry grass. A hospital ship had been attacked. A human hospital ship. Patients murdered. Medical staff killed while trying to save lives. The images were everywhere. The escape pods had been recovered by Commander Hayes and his fleet. The survivors told their stories to anyone who would listen. The sensor recording showed everything. War Chief Zaroth ordering the attack, the Nightingale burning, the bodies floating in space. On Earth, people watched the footage in silence. Then the silence turned to something else. Something cold and determined. Admiral Claire Davidson stood in the command center of the Earth Defense Fleet headquarters. She was a tall woman with iron-gray hair and eyes that had seen 3 wars. She had spent 30 years building peace between humanity and the galaxy. Now she watched that peace crumbling. "How many dead?" she asked quietly. 60 confirmed killed in the initial attack, reported Colonel Sam Turner. He was the leader of the Marine Rapid Response Units. "Another 23 died from injuries before rescue arrived. Captain Morgan and Dr. Brooks are alive but held hostage on Vrax Prime. Katie Walsh is in critical condition but stable. We got her out before the Vraks took the ship." Claire closed her eyes briefly. 83 dead. 83 people who had dedicated their lives to healing others. Murdered because they refused to abandon their patients. "What is the coalition doing?" she asked. A diplomatic officer stepped forward. He looked uncomfortable. "The council has called an emergency session. They are discussing appropriate responses, diplomatic sanctions, economic penalties. They want to form a committee to investigate." "A committee," Claire repeated flatly. They want to form a committee while our people are being held hostage by the ones who murdered their friends. The coalition moves slowly, Admiral. Many species are uncomfortable with military action. They prefer diplomatic solutions. Claire turned to look at the officer. Her expression could have frozen stars. Tell the coalition that humanity appreciates their concern. Tell them we will wait exactly 24 hours for them to secure the release of our people. After that, we will handle this ourselves. Admiral, acting independently could damage our relationship with the coalition. So could letting war criminals hold our people hostage, Claire said coldly. Dismissed. The officer left quickly. Colonel Turner remained. You know they will not get our people back in 24 hours. The Vraks are not interested in diplomatic solutions. I know, Claire agreed. I am counting on it. She pulled up a star map. How long to mobilize the 3rd, 7th, and 9th fleets? Turner's eyes widened slightly. 3 full fleets? Admiral, that is over 200 ships. I'm aware of the numbers, Colonel. How long? 48 hours for full mobilization. But Admiral, sending 3 fleets into Vrak space is an act of war. They started the war when they fired on the Nightingale, Claire said. Her voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of absolute conviction. They just did not realize it yet. Now answer my question. How long? 48 hours, Turner confirmed. Make it 36. And Colonel, prepare your Marines. We are getting our people back. Turner saluted and left to carry out his orders. Claire stood alone in the command center, looking at the star map. Vrax Prime was 14 light-years away. Under normal circumstances, it would be well defended. Under normal circumstances, humanity would never consider a military assault on a coalition neighbor. These were not normal circumstances. Across Earth, the military mobilization began. Ships that had been in dock for repairs were brought online. Crews were recalled from leave. Marines loaded equipment and ran combat drills. The industrial capacity of a death world, built over centuries of internal conflict and then refined for space warfare, turned toward a single purpose. Commander John Hayes arrived at Earth Defense Headquarters 3 days after the attack. He looked exhausted. He had spent every moment since the rescue coordinating with the survivor recovery and gathering evidence. Admiral Davidson, he said, saluting, I have the complete sensor logs from the Nightingale and our ships. Every moment of the attack is documented. There is no question about what happened. Good, Claire said. We will need that for the tribunal. But first we need to get our people back. What do we know about where they are being held? Hayes pulled up an intelligence report. The Vraks moved them to a military detention facility on Vrax Prime. High security, underground. They are keeping them separated. Captain Morgan and Dr. Brooks are in the command section. The other survivors are spread across multiple cells. Casualties among the hostages? None since the initial attack, as far as we can tell. The Vraks seem to want them alive, probably as leverage. They are going to learn that taking hostages from a death world species is a poor strategy, Claire said grimly. What about defenses? Vrax Prime has a standard defensive fleet. 20 cruisers, 40 destroyers, defensive satellites. Nothing they have not had for years. They are not expecting an attack. Why would they? They are a coalition member and no one has ever invaded a coalition world. There is a first time for everything, Claire said. How much of this can we share with the Coalition Council? All of it. I made sure every piece of evidence was properly documented and certified by coalition observers. This will hold up in any tribunal. Claire nodded. She activated a secure channel to the Coalition Council chambers. The representatives of 40 different species appeared on the screen. They looked worried. Good. They should be worried. Admiral Davidson, said the council speaker, a Tarvian named Selix. The council has been in continuous session discussing this situation. We want to assure you that we take this attack very seriously. I am glad to hear that, Speaker Selix, Claire replied. Then you will have no objection to humanity exercising our right to recover our people. Several representatives started talking at once. Selix raised his hand for silence. Admiral, we are working on a diplomatic solution. The Vrax government has been contacted. We are negotiating for the release of the hostages. How long will these negotiations take? These matters require delicacy. Perhaps a few weeks? Maybe a month. Unacceptable, Claire said flatly. The Vraks attacked a hospital ship. They murdered patients and medical staff. They are holding our people hostage in violation of every treaty we have signed. We will not wait weeks while you negotiate. "Admiral, please understand our position," another representative said. This one was a tall, thin species called the Kelthani. "If we allow military action every time there is a dispute, the coalition will collapse. We must handle this through proper channels." "Then you should have handled it through proper channels when the Vraks started expanding their territory illegally," Claire shot back. "You should have handled it through proper channels when they ignored 3 separate warnings about their military buildup. Instead, you formed committees and wrote reports. Now our people are dead and you want us to wait some more." "What are you proposing?" Selix asked carefully. "I am not proposing anything. I am informing you. In 36 hours, the human fleet will enter Vrak space. We will recover our people. We will secure evidence of war crimes, and we will ensure this never happens again. You can support us, you can stay out of our way, or you can try to stop us. Choose wisely." The representatives erupted in arguments. Some supported humanity. Many were frightened. A few threatened sanctions. Claire listened for exactly 30 seconds, then closed the channel. "That went well," Hayes said dryly. "They will come around," Claire predicted. "Or they will not. Either way, we are going." 2 days later, the human fleet assembled at the edge of Vrak space. 3 full fleets. 217 ships. Over 50,000 personnel. It was the largest military operation humanity had conducted since joining the coalition. Colonel Turner stood on the bridge of the assault carrier, watching the final preparations. His Marines were ready. They had trained for hostage rescue operations. They had trained for urban combat. They had trained for fighting in hostile environments. They were the children of Earth, born on a world that tried to kill them every day. Fighting was in their blood, but Turner made sure his people understood the rules. "We are going in to rescue our people and arrest war criminals," he told them in the final briefing. "We are not going in for revenge. We follow the laws of war. We protect civilians. We treat prisoners with respect. We are better than the people who attacked the Nightingale. Remember that." The Marines listened. They understood. Humanity might be feared as Deathworlders, but they had laws. They had honor. They would show the galaxy that even in war, even in fury, humans could be better. On the flagship, Admiral Davidson gave the order. "All ships advance. We are going to get our people back." The fleet entered Vrak space. Sensors detected them immediately. Alarms began sounding on Vrak's prime. Their military scrambled to respond. Ships that had been docked launched in a panic. Defensive systems powered up, but it was already too late. The human fleet moved with precision that terrified the Vrak's commanders. This was not the behavior of an angry mob seeking revenge. This was the cold, calculated efficiency of a military that knew exactly what it was doing. War Chief Zeroth stood in the command center on Vrak's prime, watching the sensor displays in disbelief. "How many ships?" The Vrak's fleet launched from their defensive positions. 60 ships against 200. War Chief Zeroth had fought many battles. He had conquered 12 worlds for the Dominion. He believed numbers meant less than courage and determination. He was about to learn a terrible lesson. The human fleet did not charge forward. They did not scatter. They moved like a single living thing, each ship perfectly positioned. The Vrak's fleet came at them in a standard attack formation, the same formation that had won them victories for decades. It took exactly 4 minutes for the human fleet to tear that formation apart. The first wave of human missiles struck before the Vraks even got in range. Precision weapons that had been developed over centuries of warfare on Earth. The Vrak shields held against the first impacts. Then the second wave hit the exact same points and the shields failed. The third wave went through the openings. 3 Vrak's cruisers were crippled in the opening exchange. They tumbled through space, life support failing, crews evacuating in escape pods. The human ships moved around them, not wasting fire on defeated enemies. They had bigger targets. On Vrak's prime, Zeroth watched his fleet being dismantled with growing horror. How are they doing this? Our ships are equal to theirs. His second-in-command shook his head. War Chief, their tactics are far beyond ours. They are not fighting like any enemy we have faced before. They are fighting like predators. Because that was exactly what they were. Humans had evolved on a world where everything wanted to kill them. They had learned to hunt in packs. They had learned to plan. They had learned to wait for the perfect moment to strike. Those instincts, refined over millions of years and then applied to space warfare, made them terrifying opponents. The Vrak's fleet commander tried to regroup. He pulled his remaining ships into a defensive sphere. a formation designed to cover all angles. It was a good move against most enemies. The human fleet split into 3 groups and hit them from above, below, and through the center simultaneously. The Vrak's defensive sphere collapsed in minutes. Admiral Claire Davidson watched the battle from her command ship. She felt no joy in this. Every ship they destroyed meant lives lost. But the Vraks had made their choice. They had attacked a hospital ship. They were holding her people hostage. She would not stop until her people were safe. "Admiral, the Vrak's fleet is breaking," reported her tactical officer. "Most ships are retreating toward the planet. We count 12 ships destroyed, 16 crippled, the rest fleeing. Let them go," Claire ordered. "Colonel Turner, you are clear for the rescue operation. Bring our people home." In the assault carrier, Colonel Sam Turner and his Marines were already in their dropships. They had been waiting for this moment. The plan was simple. Drop fast, hit hard. Get the hostages out. Don't stop moving. 20 dropships fell through the atmosphere of Rax Prime like meteors. Defensive fire tried to stop them. Most of the shots missed. The few that connected were absorbed by shields designed specifically for combat drops. This was what Marines trained for. The dropships landed in a circle around the detention facility. Ramps dropped. Marines poured out in perfect formation. They carried non-lethal weapons when possible, but they were ready for anything. The Vrax guards at the facility were not prepared for this. They had been told the humans were sending diplomats. They had been told negotiations were ongoing. Instead, they got a full combat assault by some of the most highly trained soldiers in the galaxy. The Marines breached the facility walls in under 2 minutes. They moved through the corridors like they had trained in this building their whole lives, because in a way they had studied the blueprints. They had run simulations. They knew every room, every corner, every possible hiding spot. Vrax soldiers tried to mount a defense. The Marines gave them one chance to surrender. Those who dropped their weapons were secured and moved aside. Those who kept fighting were disabled with precision shots. No one was killed unnecessarily. The Marines followed their rules of engagement perfectly. Colonel Turner led his team directly to the command section where Captain Morgan and Dr. Brooks were being held. They breached the door with a controlled explosion. Turner went in first, weapon ready. He found Captain Lisa Morgan sitting calmly in a cell, her uniform torn but her eyes fierce. Dr. Henry Brooks was in the cell next to her, tending to another prisoner's wounds even in captivity. United States Marine Corps. "Ma'am," Turner said to Lisa, "we are here to take you home." Lisa stood up slowly. She had bruises on her face and her hands were shaking slightly, but she stood straight. "About time, Colonel. Do you have my crew? Being extracted as we speak? Can you walk?" "I can run if I have to," Turner smiled. "That will not be necessary. We have transport, Dr. Brooks. Can you move?" Henry nodded. "I have 3 patients here who need immediate medical attention. They come with us. We will take everyone," Turner promised. "No one gets left behind." The Marines swept through the facility like a flood. They found the surviving crew members of the Nightingale in various cells. Some were injured. All were tired and scared. But when they saw the Marines, hope returned to their eyes. Katie Walsh was found in a medical cell. She had been recovering from her injuries when the Vrax took her. Now she was weak but alive. A Marine medic carried her personally to the extraction point. The entire rescue operation took 18 minutes from landing to extraction. The Marines loaded the hostages onto the dropships and lifted off while Vrax reinforcements were still trying to organize a response. Back in orbit, Admiral Davidson received the report. "All hostages recovered, Admiral. 0 casualties on our side. We have Captain Morgan, Dr. Brooks, and 41 surviving crew members. We also recovered 6 other prisoners the Vrax were holding." Claire felt tension she had been carrying for days finally release. "Good work, Colonel. Get them to medical ships immediately." "What about Zeroth?" "The Vrax are refusing to surrender him. He is currently in the planetary command bunker." Claire looked at the planet below. The Vrax had lost their fleet. They had lost the hostages. They had lost everything except their pride. She could order the bunker destroyed. It would be easy. It would be justified. But that was not the human way. Not anymore. "Broadcast on all frequencies," Claire ordered. "I want every Vrax on that planet to hear this." The communications officer nodded. "You are on, Admiral." Claire spoke clearly and calmly. "People of Vrax Prime, this is Admiral Claire Davidson. We have recovered our hostages. We have defeated your military. We could destroy your world if we chose. But we are not here for revenge. We are here for justice. War Chief Xerath and his officers committed war crimes. They attacked a hospital ship. They murdered patients and medical staff. They must answer for these crimes. If you turn them over to the Galactic Coalition for trial, we will withdraw peacefully. If you protect them, we will continue our operations until they are captured. You have 12 hours to decide. We will be waiting. She closed the channel and turned to her staff. Maintain position. Establish a blockade. Nothing gets on or off that planet without our permission. The human fleet settled into orbit around Vrax Prime. It was a complete blockade. Trade stopped. Travel stopped. The planet was cut off from the rest of the galaxy, and the human ships just waited. On the planet below, the Vrax government held emergency meetings. The people were afraid. Their fleet was destroyed. Their world was surrounded. And all because War Chief Xerath had attacked a hospital ship. The arguments went on for hours. Some wanted to fight to the end. Others pointed out they had no fleet left to fight with. Some called the humans monsters. Others pointed out that the humans had followed the rules of war perfectly, even while overwhelming them. Finally, after 8 hours, the Vrax government made their decision. War Chief Xerath was arrested by his own people. He screamed about betrayal and honor as they put him in restraints. His officers were arrested with him. They were loaded onto a shuttle and sent up to the human fleet. Admiral Davidson watched the shuttle approach. She felt no satisfaction, only a deep, tired sense that justice was finally being served. Take them into custody, she ordered. Treat them according to Coalition prisoner of war regulations. They will stand trial for their crimes. The shuttle docked. Xerath was led off in restraints. He saw Admiral Davidson waiting and tried to spit at her. The Marines simply moved him past. You will regret this, Xerath snarled. The galaxy will see what you really are. Violent, aggressive, dangerous. Claire looked at him coldly. The galaxy will see that we are people who protect the innocent. People who value healers. People who will cross the stars to rescue our own. And people who will ensure that war criminals face justice. If that makes us dangerous, then we are dangerous to the right people. Xerath was taken away to the brig. Claire turned to her staff. Begin withdrawal. We are done here. Send a message to the Coalition Council. Tell them we have secured the war criminals and are ready to present evidence at tribunal. Tell them the Vrax Dominion is in violation of multiple treaties and recommend that their military be placed under Coalition supervision until they can demonstrate they understand the laws of civilized warfare. The human fleet began pulling back from Vrax Prime. They had been there for less than 2 days. In that time, they had defeated an entire military, rescued all hostages, and captured war criminals. The tribunal convened 3 months after the attack on the Nightingale. Representatives from every coalition species attended. The chamber was built to hold 2,000 beings and every seat was filled. Millions more watched the proceedings across the galaxy. Captain Lisa Morgan walked into the chamber wearing her dress uniform. The medals on her chest represented years of service, years of saving lives. She carried herself with quiet dignity despite the nightmares that still woke her at night. Dr. Henry Brooks walked beside her, his gray hair a bit whiter than it had been before the attack. Behind them came 40 survivors of the Nightingale crew. Katie Walsh was there, walking slowly but steadily. Her injuries had healed, but the scars remained, both visible and invisible. They all took their seats in the witness section. Across the chamber, War Chief Xerath sat in the prisoner dock with his officers. He wore restraints but held his head high, showing no remorse. He believed he had done nothing wrong. The chief magistrate was an elderly Tarvian named Kellix, chosen for his reputation for fairness. He looked at the assembled crowd and spoke. This tribunal has been convened to examine the events surrounding the attack on the United Human Medical Ship Nightingale. We will hear testimony from witnesses. We will review evidence, and we will determine if war crimes were committed. The first day of the tribunal focused on establishing facts. Commander John Hayes presented the sensor logs. The recordings showed everything. The Nightingale broadcasting its medical status. War Chief Xerath's demands. The refusal to surrender. The attack itself. The chamber watched in silence as the hospital ship burned on the screens. They saw Medical Bay 3 explode. They heard the screams over the communications channels. They saw the bodies floating in space. Several representatives left the chamber. They could not watch anymore, but Magistrate Kellix made them return. If you cannot watch the evidence, you cannot judge the crime, he said firmly. Everyone will see what happened. All of it. On the second day, the survivors testified. Dr. Brooks spoke about the patients they had been treating. He described the moment of the first attack. His voice remained steady, but his hand shook as he held up a list of names. These are the 43 patients who died in Medical Bay 3, he said. They were children, parents, grandparents. They came to us for healing. They trusted us to protect them. We failed them. You did not fail them, Doctor. Magistrate Kellick said gently. Someone else failed them. Someone who chose to fire on a hospital ship. Katie Walsh testified about the children in the pediatric ward. She described throwing herself over a Tarvian boy to protect him from the explosion. She showed the scars on her back where debris had struck her. She looked directly at Zaroth as she spoke. I told that boy I would not leave him, she said. I kept that promise. You tried to kill children who were already sick. You tried to kill the people trying to save them, and now you sit there showing no shame. Zaroth stared back at her with his yellow eyes. War is not gentle, he said. The strong survive, the weak do not. This is the way of the universe. Then you're about to learn that strength has many forms, Katie replied quietly. Captain Morgan testified on the third day. She walked the tribunal through every decision she had made, every attempt at diplomacy, every effort to avoid violence. She presented the communications log showing how she had reminded Zaroth repeatedly about the protection of hospital ships. I had 150 people under my command who refused to evacuate, Lisa said. They stayed because patients needed them. They stayed because that is what medical personnel do. They stayed because they believed the laws protecting hospital ships meant something. 17 of them died for that belief. Captain, Magistrate Kellick asked, if you could go back to that moment, would you make the same choices? Lisa did not hesitate. Yes, every single one. Because the moment we abandon our patients to save ourselves, we stop being healers. We stop being the people we are supposed to be. The chamber was silent. Many representatives were openly crying. Then it was Zaroth's turn to speak. His lawyer tried to argue that the attack had been a military necessity, that the Nightingale had been carrying military supplies, that the human response had been disproportionate. Magistrate Kellick cut him off. We have examined every container on the Nightingale. Medical supplies, food, water purification equipment, medication, not a single weapon, not a single military item. Your client attacked a hospital ship that was exactly what it claimed to be. Now let us hear from War Chief Zaroth himself. Zaroth stood. He showed no fear. I did what I believed was right for my people. The humans are Deathworlders. They are dangerous. Everyone in the galaxy knows this. I saw an opportunity to gain valuable medical technology and supplies. I took it. In war, there are always casualties. This was not war, Magistrate Kellick said firmly. You were not at war with humanity. You attacked a non-combatant vessel in Coalition space during peacetime. What you did was not war. It was murder. Call it what you wish, Zaroth replied with a shrug. I would do it again. The strong take what they need. The humans responded with overwhelming force because that is what Deathworlders do. They proved my point. They are violent and dangerous. Admiral Claire Davidson had been sitting quietly in the observer section. Now she stood and asked for permission to speak. Magistrate Kellick granted it. Claire walked to the center of the chamber. She looked at Zaroth, then at the assembled representatives. War Chief Zaroth claims we proved his point about human violence. Let me clarify what actually happened. We mobilized 3 fleets because one of our hospital ships was attacked. We defeated the Vrax military in hours because they attacked people who could not defend themselves. We rescued every single hostage with 0 civilian casualties because we followed the laws of war, even when Fury demanded otherwise. We blockaded Vrax Prime but did not bombard it. We did not kill Zaroth when we captured him. We brought him here for a fair trial according to Coalition law. She turned to face Zaroth directly. You call us violent Deathworlders. You are right. We come from a world that tried to kill us every single day, but we did not become violent monsters. We became people who value life so much that we will cross the galaxy to protect it. We became people who build hospital ships instead of just battleships. And yes, we became people who will unleash overwhelming force on anyone who attacks our healers. If that makes us dangerous, then we are dangerous to the right people. The chamber erupted in discussion. Magistrate Kellick called for order. When silence returned, he addressed the tribunal. We have heard all testimony. We have reviewed all evidence. Does the tribunal require more time to deliberate? The other magistrates shook their heads. The evidence was clear. Very well, Kellic said. War Chief Zeroth, this tribunal finds you guilty of war crimes. You ordered the attack on a clearly marked hospital vessel. You caused the deaths of 43 patients and 17 medical personnel. You took hostages in violation of coalition law. You showed no remorse for your actions. The sentence is life imprisonment in a coalition maximum security facility. Your officers are found guilty as accessories and will receive sentences ranging from 20 to 50 years. Zeroth laughed. You think your prison can hold me? The Vraks will free me. The Vraks have already petitioned to join the witnesses in condemning your actions, Kellic replied. You have no people anymore, Zeroth. You have only your crimes. Guards led Zeroth and his officers away. He was still laughing, but it sounded hollow now. Magistrate Kellic stood. This tribunal also recommends the following actions. First, the Vraks Dominion military will be placed under coalition supervision until they demonstrate understanding of the laws of war. Second, we will establish new protocols for the protection of hospital ships. These will be called the Nightingale Protocols in honor of those who died. He paused and looked at the human delegation. The Nightingale Protocols will state that any attack on a hospital ship is an act of war against the entire coalition. Furthermore, the Deathworld species whose ship was attacked will have the right to lead the military response. This is to ensure that the lesson we learned here today is never forgotten. The chamber voted. The Nightingale Protocols passed unanimously. Every species in the coalition signed them. The message was clear. Hospital ships were sacred. The people who staffed them were protected, and anyone who violated that protection would face consequences. 6 months later, Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of a new ship. The UHMS Nightingale II was bigger than the original, with better shields and more advanced medical facilities, but it carried the same purpose: to heal, to save lives, to show the galaxy that humanity cared. Dr. Henry Brooks was the chief medical officer again. Katie Walsh had returned to duty as emergency response coordinator, though she now had an assistant to help with the work. The crew was new, but they all knew the story of the first Nightingale. They all understood what they represented. Captain, we are receiving a distress call, reported the communications officer. Mining colony in the Kelthani system. Industrial accident. Multiple casualties. Lisa looked at her crew. Set course. Maximum speed. As the Nightingale II turned toward the distress call, 5 battleships moved into escort formation around it. They would not be caught unprepared again.